right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're all about unlocking that creativity we're always talking about.
hmm
And to help us with this, we're diving deep into a recent episode of The Creative Mind. We pulled out, all the best tips and tricks for ya.
The most actionable insights for sure.
Exactly. So they make this point right off the bat that I think is so important.
Okay.
It's this idea that creativity, it's not like some magical thing you're born with or
Right.
you're not.
It's not like,
Right. And the creative mind, they use this analogy, they compare it to, get this, a muscle.
a muscle. I love that
Like
analogy.
such a good one because it's so true, right? You don't just wake up one morning and you're like, I'm going to bench press 300 pounds.
Exactly.
You have to train.
You got to work at it.
You have to work those muscles consistently.
Yeah.
And so it's the same with creativity.
Absolutely. And I think that's so encouraging for anyone listening who's ever felt like, oh, I'm just not creative, you know?
Yes. It's like the creative mind is giving you permission to say, wait a minute, maybe I'm not there yet, but I can get there.
Exactly. You have that potential. You can get there.
And one of the biggest things they emphasize is the importance of action.
Okay.
Instead of waiting around for inspiration to just magically strike,
Yeah, I like that. Action.
just start do it. Even if it feels weird or messy, just get going.
That's totally. Do you remember that example they gave of the novelist who was struggling with writer's block?
Yes.
That was such a good one.
What did they do again?
They just committed to writing one sentence a day.
One sentence.
That's it.
Okay.
And eventually, those sentences became paragraphs, then pages, and then a whole book.
And it just proves that point of action.
Yeah,
Because
fuck that.
instead of getting overwhelmed by oh my gosh, I have to write a whole book,
Yeah, it's too much.
it's too much. What if you just focused on one good sentence?
Yeah, you got this.
It's about those baby steps,
It's progress over perfection. And you know what? With progress, you often find a little bit of failure along the way, too.
That's a good point.
And they don't shy away from that. They actually encourage people to embrace it.
Really. That's so interesting because it's like the opposite of what we're usually taught, right?
Right. We're taught to fear failure, but they're saying, no, look at those as opportunities
Opportunities, yeah.
to learn and to grow. And they even use the words playfulness and curiosity
Oh, I like
when it comes to creativity. Be playful with it.
It's like giving yourself permission to make mistakes because even in those mistakes, there's so much to be learned, right?
Exactly. And it all kind of ties into how our environment plays a role in all of this, too.
Oh, interesting. What did they say about that?
Well, they just asked listeners to think about a time they changed their environment even a little. Like maybe you finally cleaned up your messy desk
Oh my gosh.
or went for a walk outside. Did you notice a difference in your thinking?
100%. Sometimes even just opening a window and getting a little fresh air in here, it's like, boom, ideas start flowing again.
Right. It's amazing how much our surroundings can impact us.
Totally.
And that actually leads into their next point, which is about collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about locking ourselves in our rooms and
Yes.
hoping for a stroke of genius.
Yeah, not necessarily a lone wolf situation. The creative mind actually found that bringing other people into your creative process can be so valuable.
Okay.
They said that sometimes someone else's perspective can just spark something in you,
Wow.
and give you an idea you never would have thought of on your own.
Oh, totally. Just bouncing ideas off someone can make all the difference.
Exactly,
It's like they say, two heads are better than one.
for sure. And each of those heads bringing something unique to the table.
Right, right. And then there was that whole part about finding those sparks of creativity in everyday life.
Yes, like even in the mundane stuff.
Okay, so that makes me think about the thing about downtime, right? Because it seems kind of counterintuitive.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If we want to be more creative, shouldn't we be actively creating all the time?
Yeah, you'd think so, but it's not always the case. The creative mind actually talked about how important it is to give our minds some space to wander.
Oh, okay.
Like, think about those times when you're in the shower or out for a run.
Or even washing dishes.
Yes. You're not
Yeah.
even trying to be creative, and then boom, an idea just pops in your head.
It's like your subconscious is finally like, all right, I've got some space to work here.
Exactly. And they connected that to, get this, daydreaming.
Wait, I thought we were supposed to avoid that, like the play.
Right, like we're told to stop daydreaming and get back to work.
Exactly.
But they actually made a good point about how daydreaming can lead to breakthroughs.
Really?
Yeah. It's about letting your mind explore those what-if scenarios.
Without judgment.
Exactly.
So it's like quieting that inner critic that's always like, that's a dumb idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it all kind of relates back to embracing that playfulness.
So we're giving ourselves permission to be bored, which sounds weird, but
Right.
I get it.
But then they got into this other thing, this idea of actually building creative habits.
So it's not just waiting for the muse to strike us. We've got to, like, actively cultivate this thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make it a regular practice. They suggested things like journaling, doodling.
Oh, I love journaling.
Right. Or even brainstorming, things like
Yeah,
that.
and it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing either, right?
No, not at all.
It can be as simple as trying a new recipe.
Absolutely. Or taking a different route to work, something to shake things up.
I love that. Just those little things to keep our minds engaged.
Exactly. And, of course, we can't forget about curiosity. The creative mind talk about that a lot.
Curiosity, what'd they say?
They called it the fuel for the creative fire, which I think is such a great way to put it.
Yeah. Because when you're curious, you're open to new ideas and new possibilities.
Yes. You're constantly asking questions, exploring, wanting to learn new things.
It's like being a kid again. Totally. Like that feeling of, ooh, what if I try this? And then you actually go for it.
Exactly. But, sometimes, even when we're feeling super curious, we hit a wall.
Oh, yeah.
We get creatively drained.
We've all been there.
And the creative mind had some advice for that, too.
Oh, yeah. What was that part about rest and recharge?
Yeah.
That really stuck with me.
Yeah. It's so important.
It's easy to forget, though.
It is, especially when we're constantly told to be on,
Right. Like busyness is some kind of badge of honor.
Totally.
But taking breaks is so important, not just for our sanity,
For sure.
but for our creativity, too.
They even talked about the dreaded burnout
Ooh, yeah. Nobody wants that.
and how it can totally zap your creative energy.
Makes sense. It's like running a marathon without stopping. Eventually, you're going to collapse.
Exactly.
So besides the obvious stuff, like, get some sleep.
Right. Which we all need to do more of.
Yes. What else did they suggest?
Let's see. They mentioned things like spending time in nature, listening to music.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Being with friends and family, even just pursuing a hobby that has nothing to do with work.
Oh, I like that.
Just something to completely take your mind off things.
Yes. Sometimes you just need that separation from a project.
Totally agree. It gives you that fresh perspective.
Which leads perfectly into that last little nugget of wisdom from the creative mind, approaching creativity with playfulness.
Oh, yes. I loved that part.
It's such a good reminder to not take it all so seriously.
Exactly. Have some fun with it.
Like tapping into that inner child, Just pure joy of creation without worrying about being perfect.
It's in those moments when the magic really happens.
Totally. That's when those unexpected connections pop up.
Because you're relaxed, you're open.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest thing we can all take away is that creativity is a journey.
Yes. It has its ups and downs.
And it's a practice. It's about embracing the failures, the breakthroughs, and just enjoying the ride.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What's one small step you can take today to flex your creative muscle?
Ooh, good one.
Even if it's something simple.
Like trying a new coffee shop.
Ooh, I like that. Or rearranging your furniture.
There you go. Just something to shake things up.
Until next time, stay curious, everybody.